With a little help from the EU, it buys you a Commonwealth park. It's a little less than the forecast cost of upgrading Gibraltar's broadband to 4G, but enough to build 113 berths in the small boat marina. £3.84 million is also the amount paid so far on lawyers' fees in Gibraltar's longest ever criminal trial. So far, the amount paid in legal fees to the lawyers representing the now convicted Marrache brothers is £3.5 million. These lawyers have also received a further £330,000 in disbursements. Last month, High Court Judge Sir Geoffrey Grigson sentenced Benjamin Marrache to 11 years in prison and Solomon and Isaac Marrache to 7 years. They were found guilty of conspiracy to defraud millions of pounds pertaining to clients of the collapsed law firm Marrache & Co. In his sentencing, Sir Geoffrey acknowledged there had been delay in the process of justice, but said the brothers had contributed to the delay, seeking to avoid trial and arguing every point that could be argued. For their Supreme Court trial, the brothers obtained extra funding beyond the fees normally available on legal aid because the case was categorised as complex fraud following a recent change to legislation.
If you begin from the prosecution point of view, they themselves have expended a great deal of money in what was, in my opinion, a properly brought and properly investigated situation, which, as I said, has resulted in the acquittal of one of the people. And the prosecution engaged Mr. John McGuinness, Queen's Counsel, who is a top Queen's Counsel in our country. And he himself has prosecuted the case extremely well. And so when you then think what the prosecution is doing, why should not the defendants have what we call equality of arms? Why should they not have the same level of representation as the prosecution? And that's a sort of starting point. Your question was, why has this case been so, I hesitate to use the words expensive or cheap, but that's the words that are going around. The reason was that there was a mountain, literally a mountain of evidence.
For the appeal, they've been granted basic legal aid. The lawyers appearing for the Marrache brothers applied for extra funding, but puny Judge Karen Prescott has denied this. She said the Marrache brothers should not be treated any worse than anyone else entitled to legal aid, but they are not to be treated any better. There are still further amounts to be paid in respect of the Supreme Court trial. Some invoices are still being processed, so the figure of £3.84 million will climb further, and that is just the defence. Apart from the almost £4 million that the government has paid out in legal aid and disbursements, significant amounts have been paid to the prosecution lawyers. The trial has also taken in further expenses, including liquidation and litigation. And it's not over yet. With the appeal expected to take place in October, the full cost of the Marraches saga will not be known for some time yet. But today, many people's suspicions have been confirmed. Gibraltar's longest ever criminal trial is almost certainly also its most expensive.